How to deal with uncertainty, build mental toughness, and thrive in difficult situations. How to deal with uncertainty, build mental toughness, and thrive during difficult situations. That is what we're going to talk about today. But first, please send me your validation so that I can inhale it into my nostrils and down to the depths of my soul. Send said validation by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit the little notification bell so that you can get brand new videos the moment they come out. All other platforms, please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and let them know about the value that this content provides. Okay. How do you learn how to deal with uncertainty? How do you learn how to adapt? How do you learn how to thrive even when the cards are stacked against you? You know, this is an important time right now to focus on these types of concepts. So we're recording this right now during the coronavirus epidemic. You know, this channel is going to be evergreen. I want to talk about topics that apply to any situation. And even though we're in this capsule in time right now, I hope that people who see this video in their feed years from now are able to draw similar lessons. And one of the things that I think is important is to understand what self-improvement is really for, you know? Oftentimes I've been told that, you know, when it comes to my writing or when it comes to my videos, sometimes I could be very harsh, upfront, abrasive, tell the blunt truth about the situation. And I do this for times like these. Like, if self-improvement doesn't work when SHIT hits the fan, if self-improvement doesn't work when your back's against the wall, then what's the point of it, right? What's the point of it if that's not the case? And I really pride myself on trying to figure out how not just to get self-improvement to work when things are good, but how to get it to work when things aren't going your way. And these are going to be the times that'll teach you a lot about yourself, and you have to learn how to become adaptable. You have to learn that you have to let the situation impact you, and then you have to figure out what to do next. So it's okay to feel shell-shocked when something hits you from the left. You know, Marcus Aurelius in his book, The Meditations, he has a quote. It says, when you're jarred unavoidably by circumstances, revert back into your mind so you can figure out what to do. So, yeah, if you lose your job all of a sudden, that is an extremely tough situation to deal with. If you have a tragedy in your life, you lose a loved one, terrible situation to deal with. If you have professional problems, personal problems, health problems, these are things that you have to deal with, you know? I'll tell you a little story that I don't talk about too often, but it kind of shows you the mindset that I really try to adopt in my own life. So last year, I basically figured out that I have a disease in my eyes that caused me to go almost totally blind in one of my eyes. And I was basically half blind in one eye for like 6 months. And the vision in that eye goes up and down. Sometimes it's perfect, and sometimes it'll relapse, and the blood vessels in my eye will bleed all over again, and it'll basically become blind in that eye again. And I remember I was at the doctor's office doing this procedure where he shot laser beams into my eyes essentially to like burn the blood vessels and like fuse them together so that I could see, so that my retina doesn't get detached from my eye and I go completely blind, right? And I'm sitting in the chair and I'm like, what are the side effects, complications of this? Well, he was like, you could have a bleed in both of your eyes. And I was like, okay, does that mean that I'll be blind essentially? And he was like, yeah. You know, this doctor didn't have the most amazing bedside manner in the world. He was like, yeah, you'll be blind. And yeah, I remember sitting back in the chair and I was like, thinking about what I would do in that situation. I was thinking about the fact that I know how to feel a keyboard. I don't look at the keyboard when I write, so I could still write. You know, maybe I would hire an editor to help me clean up my stuff. Maybe I would dictate and talk into a microphone to get that process going. I thought about Helen Keller, how she went from being blind, mute, and deaf to writing books. So I didn't want that situation to go down that way, but I wasn't going to stop having a writing career just because I lost my vision. I would still do videos. I could do videos blind. I could do all sorts of things. And, you know, that's in the back of my mind every single day. anticipating whether or not that'll become a full reality for me and figuring out how to pivot from that situation. And I just deal with it. I kept writing blog posts every day when I was half blind. Every single day, kept doing the work, kept going to work, and just figured out a way to adapt. You can't change the situation at hand when it happens to you. You can only look at the next move. And I think where people get stuck is you spend too much time dwelling on what has happened. And I know what it's like to get in that mental trap. Like, you replay the mental movie where you're like, oh, like if things would have went differently, if this one little variable would have changed, and you replay the scenarios where your present moment isn't what the present moment happens to be, the one that you don't like. But you can't do anything about it. I'll link to the video where I talked about accepting where you're at. You have to be who you are in this moment right now. And you always have to be you. Regardless of your situation, like, you have to be you. You can't escape your own life. So it's better to learn how to adapt and how to deal with uncertainty than, just fold when things get tough. So how do you learn how to adapt? How do you learn how to deal with uncertainty? How do you develop this kind of mental toughness to succeed? Well, you start creating situations in your life that leave you less susceptible to the whims of society, the whims of even acts of God, like a pandemic. I live well below my means, and I save up, and I'm always trying to measure my life in months of income I have stored away for a rainy day. So, the coronavirus didn't impact my income a ton, but had it, I would have been able to survive for a long time. I would have had that cash reserve to help me get back on my feet and still be able to pay my bills. Then during that time, that amount of time where I had cash saved up, best believe I would have learned a new skill. I am certain that I would find a new way to make money, given that I gave myself enough room. So that's why I'm always talking about starting side hustles, getting additional sources of income, learning more skills. I could get back on the ground and learn all sorts of things. I know how to write. I know how to talk and communicate on video. I know how to persuade. I know how to interact with people. I know how to communicate. These skills are very valuable in the times we're in right now. So if you were to take away everything that I've built up, you can't take away my knowledge. You can't take away my hustler's mentality. I used to sell drugs, which is illegal and bad, but what I learned in that process is there's never such thing as never having money. There's never such thing as never having an opportunity. You just got to find the right person to connect with, and then you got to find other people to connect with, and then you can make that money come from thin air. Did I do everything ethically back in the day? No, but I always found a way to survive. So it taught me that even in your lowest moments, there's always another move. Like, people, they lose their job, they get in these situations, and they're like, oh, throw their hands up, wait for the government check, right? And it's not that people in these situations are bad people. You just got caught flat-footed. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to learn the long-lasting lesson is the best way to avoid getting caught flat-footed is to prepare for these situations before they happen. Really good example, Wimbledon, they purchased pandemic insurance. They spent $34 million over 17 years, $2 million a year, buying pandemic insurance. Like, who can predict a pandemic? No one can. But since Wimbledon got shut down, they got paid out, I think, $150 million on that policy. Insurance. See, everyone talks about making money. Oh, you're greedy for making extra money. No, making extra money is insurance against an uncertain future. Building skills is insurance against losing one stream or losing one way of making income. You have several ways to move. Being healthy creates insurance against uncertain times too. Unfortunately, even with the coronavirus thing, if you are unhealthy, it has more of an impact. You're more susceptible to catching and suffering a fatality from the disease if you're not taking care of yourself. All these things are important. So you want to create an income and a skill set that fluctuates with different situations. You want to create a mindset that helps you fluctuate with different situations. You want a functional body that can handle different physical situations. You never want to remain stagnant. That's why I'm always talking about constantly learning new things. Self-improvement is the cheat code to life. I made a video about that. I can link to that one too. So I'm always taking in all this information. I don't know what I'm going to do with it when I'm taking in the information, but I know I have access to all these little different mental models that I can use. And you can just grow more adaptable and mentally tough over time. I feel bad for the people who they're kind of caught up in this learned helplessness. They're waiting for the government to save them when unfortunately the government is terrible at everything. People always ask me why I never get too heavily invested into politics, into who's running the country, into government. It's because these institutions of society, these house of card, manufactured, arbitrary, just nothing people, bureaucrats, they're not going to save you. I talk about that in my new book. I have a whole chapter on it. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to come and save you and live your life for you. As much as I would like to help you, as much as I'm putting together these videos, I'll be coming out to programs and trainings, which, by the way, if you're interested in working with me directly, drop a comment below so I can save your name for the time when that stuff comes out. As much as I'm working on creating ways to help point you in the right direction, give you the tools, strategies, insights to achieve certain outcomes, only you can do it. And only you can build the mental toughness to figure it out. And I get it. Your situations are tough. But you have to understand the true capability of the human mind, especially when your back's against the wall. I just wrote an article about books that'll help you survive and thrive and even become stronger during hard times. One of the books I mentioned was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl, he was a psychiatrist, and he was a Jew who got captured and put into a concentration camp. It's like every day he was watching people around him die right next to him, woke up to the smell of dead bodies every day, watched people get randomly assigned to get put in gas chambers, all this stuff. And his attitude was that regardless of what's happening to me, even being in a concentration camp, being starved and worked to near death, he decided that he could choose his attitude, right? So there's all sorts of situations. And I'm not saying, I highly doubt that I would be able to have the kind of resolve that he had. So that's why I use situations like that to help me get that perspective. What you're going through at any moment of your life can be really difficult to deal with, but just know that someone with your innate capabilities was able to come up with a way to deal with those situations and get stronger out of it. In the case of Frankl, the book he came out with, unfortunately, he never would have written the best-selling book, Man's Search for Meaning, that sold 3 million copies had he not gone through a concentration camp, right? So sometimes, that also teaches you that problems you have in your life are teachers. Sometimes you need certain things to happen to you in order for you to get perspective. That's why they say a lot of people don't change their lives until they go through a traumatic experience that really shakes them awake and helps them realize the importance of trying to find meaning in anything. And the point of what I talk about, it's not for you to become this perfect self-improvement robot to where you're always on the ball, where you're always perfect. That's not how it works. It's not how life works at all. I don't have perfect 100% mental toughness, not even close. I'm an imperfect human being, and I'm working on trying to get my adaptability, my mental toughness, my ability to deal with uncertainty just a couple notches higher. I talk about this in the book. Again, you don't need to get 100% better. The goal of this book isn't to cure you. The goal is to get you 1% better, 2% better, 5% better. If you can get 10% better than you were in terms of mental toughness and adaptability, you will be orders of magnitude better than the common person in society, because unfortunately the common person in society has little to no willpower, little to no mental resolve, little to no personal responsibility and agency, because we are trained and conditioned not to be this way. But over time, I teach in self-improvement that the process of reinventing yourself comes from conditioning yourself the other way. It's like, don't beat yourself up about it for not being super mentally tough. Like, you've been conditioned your whole life not to be. So now you need to flip that equation and begin the work. So if you do begin the work, like you're doing now, watching videos, learning new skills, reading, getting yourself in shape, looking at your situation, maybe meditating, taking time to reflect, journaling, thinking how you can have an impact on your circumstances instead of letting your circumstances impact you, over a gradual period of time, you can rewire your mind. It took me 5 years to come full circle and rewire my mind from a person who was down and out and who made a lot of mistakes to mess up his own life to be where I am today. So regardless of where you are during the situation, whether you're watching this during the midst of the pandemic or whether it's 2 years from now and you're looking back thinking on that time and you've forgotten the lessons already, take this time to see what you can get out of it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to, read 75 books, learn how to play the piano, become an artist and do yoga 95 times a day during the pandemic. No one's saying to do that. But just figure out how you can get a little bit tougher, a little bit more adaptable, and a little bit better able to deal with the next uncertain situation. Okay, Real Help. This is a book that'll help you thrive. This book is specifically written for times like these, and I've also written it to be a timeless book that has lessons that apply to you at any moment of your life. So grab that book. Even for those of you who don't like to read books, you can check out the audio version, excellently narrated. You'll get that knowledge downloaded straight into your head. Like the video, leave your 2 cents on the video. I love engaging with you and learning who is watching my videos. Introduce yourself. Take a look at some of the videos I've linked to. Take a look at the next video that's about to pop up right now. I will see you on the next video.